What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com.
Here are my DFS picks for NFL playoffs, divisional round, Sunday only games.
These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button
And hit that bell icon
so you don't miss our new videos.
In this video, I'm going to go over my top picks for this week's NFL slate. And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made. Okay guys, let's take a look at the quarterback position. You've got 4 quarterbacks that are all in great spots here on Sunday. Patrick Mahomes from the Kansas City Chiefs playing the Cleveland Browns, who have the 12th worst defense overall, and they give up the 7th most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. Patrick Mahomes has averaged 27.3 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 4.1 rush attempts per game. He's projected at 31.2 fantasy points here on Sunday, and he's 7,900 DraftKings salary and 1,200 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 57 points scored in this game, with the Kansas City Chiefs favored by 10, so they have the highest implied game total on the slate. He's got the best matchup on the slate, so I like Patrick Mahomes here versus the Cleveland Browns. Now I also like Tom Brady from the Tampa Bay Bucks playing the New Orleans Saints. Although he does have the worst matchup on paper on the slate, the Saints have the 6th best defense overall, and they are the 3rd best defense defending opposing quarterbacks, but Tom Brady has averaged 23.3 fantasy points per game on the season, and he scored 26, 34, and 33 fantasy points in his last 3 games. This guy plays amazing during the playoffs. He elevates his level of play as the pressure gets turned up. He's projected at 22.2 fantasy points here on Sunday. He's 6,200 DraftKings salary and 1,400 more on FanDuel. Vegas thinks there's going to be 51.5 points scored in this game, and they have the Tampa Bay Bucks trailing by 3. So although it's not a great matchup, you got the possibility here that the Tampa Bay Bucks fall behind in this game, and Tom Brady has to fire the ball all game long trying to catch up to the Saints. This guy is a surgeon. Playoff Tom Brady. You're going to save some salary playing Tom Brady over Patrick Mahomes. I think they have similar upside. Tom Brady's got awesome weapons on his team, so I like Tom Brady here versus the New Orleans Saints. Now, if you're looking to save some salary at the quarterback position, you got Drew Brees and Baker Mayfield. If I'm going to save some salary at the quarterback position, I'm going to go with Baker Mayfield from the Cleveland Browns playing the Kansas City Chiefs, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they're middle-of-the-pack defending opposing quarterbacks. Now, Baker Mayfield has only averaged 16.7 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 3.4 rush attempts per game. But he did score 23 fantasy points last game. He had 5 rush attempts. He's projected at 17.2 fantasy points here on Sunday, and he's only 5,200 DraftKings salary, and he's 2,100 more on FanDuel. So we know Vegas thinks this is going to be a high-scoring game. 57 points scored in this game, with the Cleveland Browns trailing by 10. So the reason I would play Baker Mayfield over Drew Brees, even though Drew Brees is the more talented quarterback, Baker Mayfield should be playing this game from behind. He's going to be passing the ball all game long. He should get a ton of pass attempts, so he could run up those yards and touchdowns, trying to catch up to the Kansas City Chiefs scoring. So I like Baker Mayfield here versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay, let's take a look at the running back position. I like Nick Chubb from the Cleveland Browns playing the Kansas City Chiefs, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they give up the 9th most fantasy points to opposing running backs. Nick Chubb has averaged
18.9 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 15.8 rush attempts per game and 1.5 pass targets per game. But he got 18 rush attempts and 4 pass targets last game, scored 25 fantasy points. He's projected at 17.6 fantasy points here today, and he's $6,500 DraftKings salary and $1,600 more on FanDuel. So the risk here is that if the Cleveland Browns fall behind, maybe he doesn't get a lot of rush attempts as Baker Mayfield has to pass the ball, but he does have a great matchup here, and he's going to be a big part of the Cleveland Browns offense. So I like Nick Chubb here versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, if you're looking to save some salary at the running back position, take a look at Leonard Fournette from the Tampa Bay Bucks playing the New Orleans Saints. Leonard Fournette is going to get the start here versus the Saints, so he could see an elevated workload. Last game, he got 19 rush attempts and 4 pass targets and scored 23 fantasy points. Now, he doesn't have a great matchup here. The New Orleans Saints have a good defense overall, and they give up the fewest fantasy points to opposing running backs. But because Leonard Fournette was originally going to be the backup running back, he's only $4,900 DraftKings salary and $1,400 more on FanDuel. So now he's going to be the starting running back, should get plenty of work, and Vegas thinks there's going to be 52 points scored in this game, with the Tampa Bay Bucks trailing by 3. So you got a close, competitive game with a high-powered offense that should get plenty of goal line work. He's going to get those goal line carries. So I like Leonard Fournette here versus the New Orleans Saints.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all the tools for NFL. NBA is right around the corner. This is a great time to get in and try everything for 1 month. The tools are all about saving research time. You can see the last 3 games, the fantasy points per game, the targets they got per game, so you can see how involved they are in the offense, the rushes they got per game. Seeing all this stuff on one screen helps you save time and make better picks. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Okay, let's take a look at the wide receiver position. I like Chris Godwin from the Tampa Bay Bucks playing the New Orleans Saints, who have a good defense overall, and they're middle of the pack defending opposing wide receivers. Chris Godwin has averaged 16.2 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 7 pass targets per game. He scored 19, 33, and 19 fantasy points in the last 3 games off of 12, 7, and 9 pass targets. He's projected at 16.7 fantasy points here on Sunday, and he's $5,700 DraftKings salary and $1,400 more on FanDuel. So Mike Evans is going to be more healthy during this game, which could take away a few pass targets from Chris Godwin. But Chris Godwin has a lower salary on DraftKings, but a higher salary on FanDuel. So maybe you go with Chris Godwin on DraftKings and you go with Mike Evans on FanDuel. That could be the strategy or the way to play it here today. So I like Chris Godwin here versus the New Orleans Saints. Now, if you're looking to save some salary at the wide receiver position, take a look at Rashard Higgins from the Cleveland Browns playing the Kansas City Chiefs, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and although they've been pretty good versus opposing wide receivers, Rashard Higgins has averaged 9.5 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 4 pass targets per game. But he got 7 pass targets last game, and he's projected at 9.3 fantasy points here on Sunday, and he's only $4,000 DraftKings salary and $1,200 more on FanDuel. So with a high-scoring game here, and Vegas thinking that the Cleveland Browns are going to be trailing by 10, that means it's going to be a passing game script for Baker Mayfield and the Cleveland Browns. So this is a low salary value play that you can fit into your lineup to open up your salary for the other players. So I like Rashard Higgins here versus the Kansas City Chiefs. Okay, now if you're looking for a deep sleeper pick, low salary, low ownership, good matchup, take a look at Demarcus Robinson from the Kansas City Chiefs playing the Cleveland Browns, who have the 12th worst defense overall, and they give up the 6th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. Demarcus Robinson, he had 7 pass targets last game, scored 12 fantasy points. He's projected at 7.1 fantasy points here on Sunday, and he's only 3,600 DraftKings salary and 800 more on FanDuel. So he's got a good matchup. His pass targets are up and down between 2 and 7 pass targets. But if he scores a touchdown, he's going to crush value here at his low salary and low ownership. So I like Demarcus Robinson as a high-risk, high-reward value play. Now, Nicole Hardman is pretty much in the same boat as Demarcus Robinson. Gets about the same pass targets per game. They both average right around 4 pass targets per game, but you never know how many pass targets they're going to get any given game. Could be 2, could be 7, and they're both right around the same salary. So the other option for a high-risk, high-reward value play is Nicole Hardman here versus the Cleveland Browns. But the stud wide receiver on the slate, he has the best cornerback wide receiver matchup, is Tyreek Hill from the Kansas City Chiefs playing the Cleveland Browns with the 12th worst defense overall, and they give up the 6th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. Tyreek Hill has averaged 22.5 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 9 pass targets per game. He's projected at 22.3 fantasy points here on Sunday, and he's 7,900 DraftKings salary and 800 more on FanDuel. So I like Tyreek Hill here versus the Cleveland Browns. Now, if you're looking for an elite wide receiver and you're looking to save some salary, take a look at Michael Thomas from the New Orleans Saints playing the Tampa Bay Bucks, who have a good defense overall, and they're middle of the pack defending opposing wide receivers. Michael Thomas has averaged 12.8 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 7.9 pass targets per game. He scored 18, 16, and 23 fantasy points in the last 3 games off of 7, 8, and 11 pass targets. He's projected at 16.9 fantasy points here on Sunday, and he's 6,600 DraftKings salary and 500 more on FanDuel. So I like Michael Thomas here versus the Tampa Bay Bucks. Okay, let's take a look at the tight end position. The tight end stud on the slate is Travis Kelsey from the Kansas City Chiefs playing the Cleveland Browns, who have the 12th worst defense overall, and they give up the 4th most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. Travis Kelsey has averaged 22.1 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 9.7 pass targets per game. He scored 23 and 23 fantasy points off of 13 and 12 pass targets in his last 2 games. He's projected at 23.8 fantasy points here on Sunday. He's 7,700 DraftKings salary and 700 more on FanDuel. So I like Travis Kelsey here versus the Cleveland Browns. Now, if you're looking to save some salary at the tight end position, take a look at Austin Hooper from the Cleveland Browns playing the Kansas City Chiefs, who have a middle-of-the-pack defense overall, and they give up the 6th most fantasy points to opposing tight ends. Austin Hooper has averaged 8.7 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 5.4 pass targets per game. But take a look at his last 3 games. He scored 18, 14, and 14 fantasy points in his last 3 games off of 11, 5, and 15 pass targets. So he's getting a ton of volume. He's been productive. He's projected at 8.7 fantasy points here on Sunday. And he's only $3,700 DraftKings salary and $1,700 more on FanDuel. So we know Vegas thinks this is going to be a high-scoring game. 57 points scored in this game, with the Cleveland Browns trailing by 10. So it's a great matchup, high-scoring game, passing game script, low salary. He makes a nice low salary stack with Baker Mayfield. So I like Austin Hooper here versus the Kansas City Chiefs.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video.
Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smickety smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NFL slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again, and good luck.